So Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is another upcoming MMO that has chosen to go the open development route with its project, similar to Ashes of Creation. And I'm not sure we see a lot more projects go down that open development route because of all the challenges that both projects have faced. And there's a reason most MMOs stay pretty silent during development these days. Players simply don't understand what a true development alpha looks like these days, since we have seen many Korean import alpha tests that were actually finished games that were just localized to the West. And they were certainly not alphas, at least not in the historical sense. And I also want to say the MMO community is obviously very tribal and is not afraid to hate on any project that they don't like for whatever reason. I've seen that constantly in my Ashes of Creation comments, and Pantheon gets the same treatment, unfortunately. And with all that being said, Pantheon's not necessarily the MMO for me. The main reason for that is I prefer PvP in MMOs, and Ashes of Creation, Pax Day, Throne and Liberty all have more of that to suit my needs. But even without it potentially being the MMO for me, I still see a lot of features that are very interesting to me, and I can see where the appeal is for certain players. So with that very long introduction out of the way, let's get into the top 5 reasons to be interested in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. The 5th reason is actually one that might be turning off a lot of people, but does appeal to a certain niche of players. And that is the slower pace of combat. I did a video where I estimated the average player age to be roughly 36 years, and I think that is probably higher for the average Pantheon fan that enjoys the EverQuest style of MMOs. So slower combat works better for that demographic. For me it is a bit too slow, but I can see how that appeals to some players. The 4th reason is one that appeals to those that want something different in an MMO. For over a decade we have been bombarded with reskinned versions of World of Warcraft over and over again. And that is not to say that I dislike that style of MMO, because I do like it. But if I want to bring back that style of MMO, I will just play WoW. So how is Pantheon different? Well, it is bringing back the old school MMO systems from EverQuest and other MMOs prior to WoW that are hard to find in modern MMOs. It is also introducing some new modern innovations like the perception and acclamation systems. And it is bringing back absolutely massive open world dungeons. These are not dungeons you run in and AoE everything down, and you will not be completing them in a short amount of time at all. In short, this will be a very different experience than what many modern MMO players are used to. The 3rd reason to be excited about Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is that it is bringing back difficult content that will require groups to progress your character more quickly very early in the leveling process. In most modern MMOs, difficult content is held until the end game, and even then is not always necessary to do. In fact, mythic dungeons in raiding and WoW are actually not completed by a large percentage of the player base at all. So a lot of players just spam the easier content constantly and are not challenged that much by the game. Pantheon will not be that game at all. Reason number 2 ties directly to the previous point. You will need to be social in this MMO. You will need groups, and you will not have a group finder that automatically ports you to a dungeon that is trivial content at best. And the number 1 reason to be excited about Pantheon is one that you might not expect. The development team is incredibly passionate about this project. So much so, in fact, that when the project ran out of funding early on, some of the developers donated their time to keep the project alive. That is a level of commitment to a project you just don't see that often these days. My only other Pantheon Rise of the Fallen video went into greater detail on this point if you want to check that out. And that's all I have for this one. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. With that, I'll see you guys in the next video.